here we are. We are on air doing our first ever podcast. For those of you who don't know, this podcast is called Let's Talk Property. I'm Sophie. I'm one of your hosts. Why don't you introduce yourself as well?
I'm Rory. I am the person that's on the title, if you look at it. I run the property business with you, my business partner and wife.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Rory and I are married, and we also run a property business where we specialise in lettings, property management and sales. We are based in Putney, but we manage properties and let properties all across London, but predominantly sort of central West London, southwest London. So
anything you can get to within 45 minutes if needed to get there to help with the property, fix an issue, speak to a client, meet a tenant, that's kind of thing. And we work with clients rather than specific areas in terms of lettings and property management. In terms of sales, we're focusing on the two areas we know very well, which one we're based in right now, which is southwest London, sort of Putney, Barnes, Sheen direction, and Kensington, because that's the business used to be called Kensington Flats. When so yeah, a little bit more about us, I guess, is the easiest way. So we live in southwest London. Big decision, as we're talking about property, we might as well go into it right from the start. We used to live in Fulham, so north of the river, lovely little 1-bedroom flat. And I mean small, sort of small in this podcast studio. And when we sold that, we were looking to move, and this is just before we got into property, and we found this area down in Putney direction. But the biggest decision that came from that was Sophie had to move south of the river.
I still haven't forgiven you. And I do personally blame you for Hammersmith being closed and us having to live with that.
So that's her speaking because her parents are going to be listening. But Sophie actually loves southwest London.
I do. That is true.
But yeah, I didn't realise it was such a big decision that we had to make to move southwest.
It is. Well, you're from Scotland, so you don't really know the north of the river, south of the river divide for Londoners. But having said that, it does sound very spoiled because Putney is absolutely beautiful, and we have, a lovely life here. So we can't, I'm not complaining and I'm very happy to do it. But whenever there's traffic going across any bridge to cross, I do give Rory that little side eye. But hey, that's the life of the Londoner.
Well, it was either that or moving closer to your parents, and I chose to go south the river.
Not that bad.
No, but, I've put it on record now. So,
yeah, I know. They're going to be listening to this.
But yeah, that's a little bit about us. We got two young kids. We both do CrossFit or attempt to do CrossFit in southwest London, in TIO or TO, depending on how you want to call it. Train Inside Out, great spot.
Which is just down at Roslyn Park.
Which is down at Roslyn Park, which is also where we have spent a fair amount of time because our children play rugby there. I'm the Minis chairman there and help organise some of the stuff. I played my first Vets game a week ago for them.
How's your foot?
I'm fine. And yeah.
We are very London-based and love it. And I think that's definitely centred around me because I'm a born and bred Londoner, and Rory's...
And will not leave.
And will not leave London. Love London. I think it's the absolute best city in the world that you can live in. And as much as I love travelling and going everywhere else in the world, this is definitely my home. And we've made our home wonderfully. So that's a little bit about us personally. Oh, the only person we haven't mentioned is this one sleeping next to me.
Don't you see him on the camera?
I'm not sure if you can see him on camera.
It's all right.
I'll see if I can... Hello, there we go. Hello. So yes, Rory surprised me with Frankie one Christmas Eve 9 years ago. Put him in a box with a little red ribbon on, and yeah, this is him. He's been my little companion ever since. So anyway, let's talk property, shall we? I think we should talk a little bit about the podcast and what we're going to be talking about.
Okay.
So I think Rory and I run a small sort of bespoke business where we work with a range of clients who've got sort of portfolios of properties, individual properties. They might be accidental landlords. And we've worked with all of these clients for a really long time, some of them for sort of 30 years or so. I mean, particularly they come from having worked with my dad for that long. We're obviously almost 40 ourselves. So, we obviously haven't been doing it since we were 10.
Almost.
But many of whom, almost 40. Many of whom, know me. I mean, I've been going around London my whole life, and it's very rare we went anywhere in London with my parents on a trip somewhere. Maybe we're going to Hyde Park or something, and we would always have to stop off at a property somewhere. So my dad to go and do an inspection, to check someone in, check someone out, meet a contractor. That's just sort of been my life. And I think I'm so pleased that Rory's been happy to kind of take over the business, and that is still a part of my life now. And I think for Rory and I, we live and breathe property. And we're not high street agents. We don't have the big overheads. We don't have all the restrictions that sort of comes with that. And so we offer a really personal service to our clients, and we really do run every property as if it's our own. And Rory takes it very personally if anything costs more than it should do for a client. And that's really...
Sometimes you'll say too personally.
Sorry?
Sometimes you'll say too personally.
Yes, exactly. So, I think what we really want to do is just to give a little bit of information about how we manage properties and how we look after them. So, Rory, why don't you give a little bit of an overview as to how you manage properties? And then I think we can also have a chat about how we sell properties for clients.
Okay. Should we start with block management and how we've come around, or just straight into...
Let's just go straight into...
So we manage just under 100 properties across London for various clients, ranging from what you'd classify as high-end rental properties to HMOs. So people don't know, HMOs are house of multiple occupancies. So we have a pub company, and we manage their accommodation above that. So they have 15 rooms above their pub that are all on separate ASTs or separate contracts, and we manage that building. So there's 15 tenants in their building. They're all separate. They all pay their own rent, but they all have communal kitchens, and we make sure those kitchens are cleaned, the property's in order, everything's kept up to date, health and safety standards, all the sort of requirements for the council for licensing. We make sure that the client has that taken care of, and that's a lot of hard work. And then we take the other properties where you've got the high end properties, which they're all the same amount of work in general, but they pay a higher rent, and they're usually Kensington based for us. And it's the same. I don't have a difference between the £700 a month room to the £7,000 a month property. Like, they're all the same people. That money is still the same probably for their income. They all have to pass referencing, so it doesn't matter where they're at on the spectrum. They should be treated the exact same way, which I don't think happens for a lot of properties. And tenants spend in London a lot of money on property these days, so we try and treat them with respect. Most of them have my mobile number. At some point, so they have WhatsApp, so they can drop us a message. We use technology to make sure they have full access if an issue happens, like it did the other day when 5 p.m. on Wednesday, I was taking my kids to hockey as for the first time in a couple of weeks to watch them play, and I get a message on my email saying that there was a boiler issue at property. However, they hadn't come to us and told us. They'd used the service that we provide for them called Help Me Fix. It's one of the best services ever.
Yeah, look them up if you can.
Yeah, look them up, Help Me Fix. And they call this Help Me Fix, the company, and say what the issue is, get put in front of a plumber or engineer, and they resolve the issue. So the issue was a boiler pressure issue. Tenant was explained how to update how to put the pressure in the boiler. Everything resolved. I got an email. Tenant had it all working within 20 minutes of knowing of the issue, rather than emailing me. We then ask them to find out what the issue is, then have to arrange a plumber to attend. Plumber doesn't attend maybe for a couple of hours, or maybe if they're struggling, hours later, or if it happened later on in the evening, they might not get someone until the next morning, depending on the situation because of what it is. This was resolved within 20 minutes.
Yeah,
and
brilliant.
Tenants are happy. They're fully aware if it happens again to call us because it's probably a bigger issue. But that sort of thing that we've implemented to make sure that we can give our clients the best service possible, and tenants, because we have our primary clients, which are landlords, so we look after their costs, and secondary clients is our tenants.
Yeah, but you've saved the landlord not having to pay for a full plumber.
Plumber out of hours called.
Exactly.
It's not.
So it's brilliant. So that's the property management side.
Yeah.
Do you want to briefly touch on lettings and that side?
So we obviously, one of our key differentials between ourselves and others is a high street model. Generally speaking, here will have the agent that values the property that comes around and says, this is what you're going to get for rental. And then you'll have negotiators coming out to do the viewings. What we do is we generally will only let something that we manage. So the tenant is really important for us as well. So on the viewings, we will do the viewing ourselves. And in part, which a lot of people forget, is a viewing for a tenant is also a chance for the agent or person, managing agent like ourselves, to interview these people. Mm-hmm. So it's to chat to them and understand who they are, what they do, lifestyle. Like we have buildings, and you don't want to have, in the nicest way, in certain buildings, it'll be, there's somebody downstairs that's in their 60s, that's been there for years, and you suddenly have the flat upstairs is going to be a DJ who's going to come in at 3 a.m, and their lifestyles are completely different. That's going to cause issues in the building. So you're trying to learn who people are. Are they going to be a reasonable tenant? Why are they leaving their current situation? And trying to work it out, because it is tough for tenants these days, but it's also making sure that the landlord's interest is taken care of and the rent's going to be paid.
I think that's a really important point to touch on. And I have to pay a little bit of homage to Jeremy Fraser, my dad, original founder of the business, who is a real people person. And I remember, in the summer holidays working for Dad. And back in those days, people would come into the office. The office was just above South Kensington Tube Station.
Great spot.
Great spot. And people would walk past all the time. Hi, I'm looking for a flat. Knock on the door, and come in. Jeremy would be like, sit down, please. And Dad would really just sit and talk to people and get to know them. And having an instinct for people in this industry is so important, because that person you put in, you're putting into someone else's property that you don't own. Someone else owns that. And we manage that property moving forwards, right? So as my dad did back in the day. So if we put someone into that property that isn't going to pay their rent on time or doesn't really understand the responsibility that they're taking on, we have to deal with that challenge moving forward. So who we put in that property really matters to us. And I think that's what offers really good value to landlords working with a company like us, is you don't have a department that just gets people in and is trying to hit lettings numbers and then gets passed over to a property management department. This is one person, one service, and one person that looks after your assets, and that's what we try and do for our landlords. Okay, so moving on, I think we should touch on sales. We can maybe give a little bit of background.
I guess that ties in with letting. So
yeah,
this year sorry to butt in.
No, that's okay. You interrupt me. Yeah. You like. No.
Interruption after interruption.
Exactly.
Jeremy Fraser.
Yeah, so just to elaborate on that slightly, one of the other teachings from Jeremy Fraser is that property management is interruption after interruption after interruption. So Rory and I always quote each other on that whenever one of us interrupts each other. So a bit of an in-joke there, sorry, probably not appropriate for a podcast.
But that is property management.
Hey-ho. That is property management, exactly.
It's interruption after interruption after interruption.
You've got to move with what you've got. So let's give a little bit of background about the fact that the business did or used to have block management, but let's just touch on that and talk and then move on about, where we're at now and kind of what our new exciting kind of focus is.
So block management, it's a very niche subject. Block management is looking after buildings. So service charge, insurance, lift contracts, cleaning contracts, leaseholders and freeholder issue. Now, I'm not going to go into all the details of that because it's riveting for people. And I'm happy to do it at some point if people want it. And it's something I would say I specialize in. But we used to have a block management business where we managed 50 buildings, just over 50 buildings. And they range from three flats in a building to I think the 25 flats was the highest one we had. So we were sort of a small to medium-sized block management company. And over a few years, it turned to a position where it was non-profitable. So for all the work, and I get it, if people are paying service charges and there's managing agents out there, block management agents out there who are charging this, and they'll know exactly what I'm talking about, is you have to, you're demanding money from people. Now, we like to hand a personal service, and, my previous clients will all probably agree we're actually very good at what we did, or we were very good at what we did.
Spent too much time on it, I think.
We spent enough time and we had to try and manage it. And once again, you're chasing people for money and you're getting complaints about something that's not happening. Cleaners not turning up, and you have to deal with them. That's generally the thing. You would never have a nice conversation about how well we're doing. It's always, we're asking you for money or you're telling us an issue. and that's fine. And we worked out it wasn't turning the right amount of profit, and all these companies were being swallowed up by bigger companies, and the pressure that's put on us was a bit too high.
I think sorry to interrupt. I think what it came down to was a huge amount of work for not enough profit, and it didn't allow us, or you especially, to ever step back and go, how can we grow the business? How can we grow our network? How can we meet more client needs? How can we get new clients? And it just swallowed us up as a small company, particularly with all the regulations that were coming in around block management. So we decided, particularly led by you, Rory, brilliantly, is that we were going to sell the business. And we did that in, what was that, April 2023?
End of March.
End of March 2023. And that successfully went through, which is brilliant. And it has allowed us to really step back and go, how do we want to grow the business? What kind of service do we want to offer? Where's the opportunity in the market? And we had previously, obviously we have a great route to market because we manage portfolios of properties for clients. And at times, some of them wanted to sell. And so we kept handing over these properties to some estate agents that we knew to sell them. And we'd obviously get a bit of a kickback from it. But we realized that we were actually very capable and very much able to do this ourselves. And A, we had a great route to market. B, we had all the skills, knowledge, and expertise to be able to do it. And now we had the time and resources to go for it. So we decided to partner with the agency group. Rory, you knew Sean beforehand.
Yeah, so
didn't you?
Sean Barrett and Danny Walton are the co-founders of that. I actually worked for Sean originally when I first started in property. I think we're roughly, give or take, the same age. So a couple, maybe he's a year younger. But he'd worked in property for years, and still, like Jeremy, gave me some certain things that you learn that he'd obviously learned from people, and we'd always kept in touch. So 12 years later, we're in this position. So reached out to them, and if you look at the agency group, which they started, they've got some fantastic properties all around southwest London, into Surrey, out into Beaconsfield area.
They predominantly deal with the prime and super prime properties.
Yeah, prime. So anything sort of generally over sort of the £2 million mark.
Mm-hmm.
Now we looked at these options and sort of had a discussion with them, and they offer a independent agent style model, but as a collective group. So you're not solely independent like some of the agents. You work with under their umbrella, and you can control it, but you can do as much or as little as you want in it. And with that, we decided to sign up in January.
Yeah.
January this year, we took the time and said, look, we're going to go for this for this year and go into the sales side. Now, as we just pointed out, it's not something we've done before. However, what we did know is our skill sets and the service that we provide, we know is what people want.
Yeah, so I think what we liked about Sean and the agency group is that he was going to allow us to really develop our own brand, and he encouraged us to do so. But we were still able to get the support and the infrastructure from an agency style. So we have great networks, we've got great buyers that we can work with, we've got a good database, and we have obviously access to all of the sales platforms. So we have a lot of the infrastructure that you would have with a high street agent, but we're able to be a little bit more entrepreneurial in what we do. We're able to be flexible in our fees. We're able to be flexible with who we work with. So if we want to partner with other agencies to be able to sell properties, if we think that's what's essential and what's needed to be done to sell the property for our client, we have the freedom to be able to do that. And that's what we knew would work very well for us because we have our business, we have our bread and butter. We still wanted to be able to be ourselves and develop our own personal brand because we have quite a particular style. Rory is obviously the front-facing service delivery person of the business and has the knowledge. And that's the benefit that clients get with working with Rory. And that's what we wanted to be able to do with sales as we do with our property management business. But still, of course, have that infrastructure, the database, the contacts and everything that is really important to have when you do go into sales. So we've went into sales this year and it's been really successful so far, actually. We've got a fantastic property in Putney that we're selling. It's a £3 million beautiful Victorian detached house that we're working with at the moment. We've got another flat in Knightsbridge for sale. So
Potentially another one in the same building coming up.
Exactly, yeah.
I've got a call with them on Monday.
Yeah.
Another similar property, which is great. And that's where we're utilizing, and as you said, it's a great, it's a good first year.
Yeah.
It's not easy, and
Yeah, it's
but it's
competitive.
it's
Certainly
competitive market,
competitive.
and that's what we want. That's what we wanted to do. We understand the way the market runs, and the service that we provide is going to be head and shoulders above a high street agent in terms of general customer service. That's where we focus. We want to make sure that our clients are looked after, and also they're genuinely happy with the decision that comes to market. If you're overpriced a property, you're straight away in a negative conversation. It's about being realistic and actually giving sound advice on knowledge and expertise and the information provided and stats, and making sure that those clients are happy with all of that. And we have that as one property on the market now. We've got a few other clients that we're speaking to, and we've got one that I'm not going to lie, we're waiting for, which I hope maybe next time we have a podcast that we'll be able to share information on that one and maybe a story behind that one. So I'm going to positive manifest it by saying, or you manifest it by saying, when we get this property.
Exactly. And I think just to elaborate a little bit on how we work together as a team, actually, I think that's quite an important thing to touch on. So my background is actually in hospitality marketing predominantly. I've worked across a range of restaurant groups and hospitality businesses, both in-house and for a digital marketing agency. So my background is very much about pitching the proposition and putting out there what makes us special, what makes us great, and putting that message in front of the right people. And so that's why I joined the business with Rory after I had Logan, because that's what I was doing beforehand. I was working in-house for a restaurant group, and we thought that I would be useful at better explaining who we are, what we offer, why we're great to work with, and why are you frowning?
You can continue first.
And so that's predominantly what I do in the sales process, as well as I put together the presentations for pitching for new business. And I'm, as you can see, trying to build Rory's profile, our profile on Instagram and all those sort of platforms, and trying to push what we do out there as best as possible.
Initially, you didn't join under that, but anyway.
Yes.
Initially, you joined to help with property management as somebody else sort of moved on to another part of the business. And everybody, I'm not going to lie, she was useless. Was your dad in the... No, your dad wasn't in the business.
No,
he retired.
So to be fair, I was pregnant with Scarlett.
Yeah, but anyway, what we've learned is, one thing as a couple we have learned, that Soph and I, and people ask this question all the time about working together.
How do you work together?
But the answer we both give every time, I think, is we have very different skill sets.
Entirely opposite skill set.
So Soph is very organized and has a plan in place and can deliver on a sort of longer term project, should we say, where a lot of my role and a lot of my business and everything is 10 to 15 minute snippets of work across lots of different properties.
After interruptions.
Soph can do, or you, because you're right here, struggle to deal with something coming in and dropping what you were doing and going to deal with that interruption.
Absolutely.
Where I just find that second nature to drop it and go back to what I was at later in the day. However, at the same time, the content and the information and the proposals you put forward this year and previously, we won a lot of our business because we go above and beyond what everyone else would do on their properties, and the attention to detail that you put into it makes a difference. Where, so when you first joined, you didn't join under that. It was originally, it was a property management role that, I think if you stuck in that, the stress in the relationship would have been harder. Yeah. But the one thing we both learned is we actually work very well together, and have very different skill sets, and we make sure that they work together. I'm sure there's certain things you're thinking right now about me that, you won't.
You're doing great.
Yeah, thanks. But so it takes me out of my comfort zone and puts me in situations like this.
Vice versa.
So, yeah, I think that covers that side. So yeah, we partner up with the agency group. I guess it's sort of round up. We partner up with the agency group for our sales and letting side. So on Rightmove, you'll find the agency group as our platform. and we work with a number of other agents in the agency group, and we're constantly sharing how people are doing stuff, how we're getting through. We get to see other people's listings. So we've been this year to a £40 million house listing out in Cobham direction.
Beautiful property.
3 outstanding eco, I'm going to get this wrong, or they're eco houses, eco homes in Beaconsfield area.
Yep, Chalfont, St Giles.
They're unbelievable properties.
Beautiful.
And you should really check out the content. And the great thing about working with the agency group is we actually have access to Ilpie Media, who I think we should shout out as well, who create all the photos, video content for the properties and really showcase them.
Yeah, so that allows me as well to get access to a great agency. So when we do come to sell a property, we can be really creative with this kind of video marketing content for that property.
Which is where the market's going.
Exactly. So that's also what we really enjoy doing. So I think we've talked enough about ourselves and what we do.
We're great
on that front. How about we have a little bit of a chat about the actual podcast?
Yeah.
So why are we doing a podcast?
I don't know. You tell me.
And okay, so what are we going to talk about on the podcast? I think is a great place to start. So do you want to have a quick go at that, or do you want me to fly into it? So I'm going to go into it. So I think what I see, I'm not delivering actual property management, and I'm not physically going and letting flats, but I see so many everyday events going on, if you like, that I think are really interesting. And we really are, because we deliver this sort of 360 service of finding a tenant to live in a property, looking after that property, managing that tenant's expectations and looking after them, making sure that the landlords are really well looked after, and then even taking on people's homes and looking to sell them, or taking on people's investments and looking to sell those investments. And I think there's a lot of really great stories to talk about. And what I want people to really be able to tap into and to understand is your sort of 360 knowledge of property. And people buy homes and they don't really understand what they're buying a lot of the time. They don't understand leasehold. They don't understand freehold. They don't understand how to reorganize a property in terms of its layout and its potential, and how that matters with your contract or your lease and all that sorts of thing. And people don't really understand how you can maximize your investment as a rental today, because it is very expensive. We can see the challenges that are coming in with taxing and with the new governments coming in, new regulations and all of that. And it's becoming much more challenging for people to make their rental investment profitable, right? But we think we're doing a good job of that for our clients. And so I want us in a really accessible, fun, engaging, not dull, because property podcasts can be dull, in sort of a not dull way, talk about that. And I can see our contractors. I want to get Eddie in. I want to get Dimitri, our locksmith, in. I hope he comes. And I also want to get some of the OGs of property in, get my dad in, maybe get a couple of other older clients in, talk about what it used to be like, what it's like now, where they're making money now, where they're not making money now, and just talk about interesting opportunities going on in property, and give some really valuable insights, whether it comes down to understanding how to find a great plumber, understanding how to refurbish your property for an investment perspective, all those everyday things that we see our friends and people in our wider network wanting to do and doing, but we know the advice we could give them could get a little bit more out of it. And also there are some brilliant stories out there from so many people that we work with and what we come across, and we think some of them are actually quite funny. So let's just put them out there. Great. So thanks for listening, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed the first episode. And shall I say what Logan and Scarlett say? Hit the like and subscribe. There is no like and subscribe, but that's okay. Well, thanks very much. Maybe there is.
Leave a comment. Leave a comment below.
Share it.